This is a pretty long video, but if you stick with me, I'm going to show you guys how I go out. I shoot a grade, I measure a grade, I'll calculate the amount of yards that it takes to recut a grade and reset a grade that's not properly draining. And then I'm going to walk you through basically my bidding process and how I would create and calculate a bid for a project like this. So here's how I do it. This is how I shoot a grade. Got my self-leveling laser level over there. I get it level in the low spot. Although, of course, there it is. Level in the low spot. And then I can go down and I can say, where does it look like is the high spot? Or where does the high spot begin? And I can start going about every 5 feet. I can set my stick down and I can check my stick. And if my stick has an up arrow, that's a good sign, because that means that the grade is going down and my stick needs to go up higher to match the level. But if I see a down arrow, that means I'm going up. So I'm already going up. I've gone a whole 5 feet, which means I need to stop and paint some marks. But I'm going to basically mark the area that needs to be dug out better. So I can come back and measure it. All right. Now, it's really hard to hold all 3 of these things and the camera. So I'm gonna walk down here. I'm gonna level my stick again and I'm gonna see how much does it go up or down. And if my stick goes up, that means the grade goes down. All right. So if my stick gets longer, the grade goes down. I think my stick's gonna get shorter. Currently, I'm at 3 foot 5 3/4 of an inch. As far as where I was at in my low spot right back there. So we're gonna go see where I end up at. I'm at roughly 20 feet away, and this thing is telling me, see if I can show you what it says. Looks like I've gone up about 1/2 inch at 20 feet. So if you're up 1/2 inch at 20 feet, then you got to go down 1/2 inch just to get back to even. And you really still want to have that 1/2 inch drop every 10 feet. So you're going to have to drop 1.5 inches over that 20 feet. And obviously times the width of your bucket. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to calculate how much cubic yardage I need to excavate. And I'm going to take that cubic yardage and I'm going to apply my excavation rate depending on the circumstances of the excavation, so that I can get a standardized price for this type of work. Here's a link to my favorite cubic yardage calculator real quick. So I haven't measured it, but I walked it off. It's about 110 feet away. And before they cut out this weird little ditch to try and fix the problem, and I don't know if they cut it out or if that happened naturally. I'm pretty sure they came back and cut it out. But before they did that, the grade over here right at this line, that's where it's even with the low spot way down there, again about 110 feet away. Because they dug the little ditch, it adds about 5.5 inches of drop, which is actually good. I still may need to add some more, or at least see, I may have to just cut it a little further, because it looks like the drop then catches up to it right over here. So knowing that I got about 110 feet, plus I'm going to have to probably add about 30 feet to catch some more drop. I'm going to be around 140 feet. This is a tight grade. It's probably going to have to make it, or 140 feet, we're going to have to make it work over 7 inches. So every 10 feet, I guess, we can drop it 1/2 inch, which isn't a terrible grade. I've done worse. But the difficulty of the grade is going to determine how much I charge for the final grading work. Because when I'm doing these numbers, I'm going to add in an extra 2 inches of excavation so that I can go down a little bit deeper and bring in about 2 inches of a screened topsoil. If it's not a screened topsoil, I'm going to rock rake it myself and basically screen it on site. But either way, it's going to be like a good river bottom, a nice, rich, nutrient-rich topsoil that I can grow grass in. So when I'm calculating up the numbers for excavation, I include those extra 2 inches, and then I charge to bring back in the nicer soil. And depending on how tight that grade is, I'll either raise my excavation rate or my topsoil rate, which they're going to be pretty well tied to that square footage or that cubic yardage. So it doesn't matter which one I tie them to. Generally, I'm going to tie it to the cutting and the excavating rate. Just because it's easier to keep a standardized soil price. Everybody seems to be competitive on those rates, so you keep that rate standardized to match everybody else's. And then the cutting and the grading is where the real skill comes in. And so one, being able to measure it and quantify it and standardize that allows you to reproduce that and do it time after time and figure out which rates work best for you, and which rates you can be profitable with. But also what's fair to the customer, what's competitive, you know what I mean? All of that stuff. So, but that's how I'm going to shoot a grade, measure a grade, and then bid a grade. And so essentially I'm going to have my cut and excavate so many cubic yards of dirt. And then I'm going to dispose of however many yards that I basically cut and excavate, because they got to go somewhere, unless there's a place on site I can just dump them, in which case then I'll dump them and spread them out. And then I'm going to go back and say deliver, spread X amount of yards of topsoil to replenish the top 2 inches and prepare for turf establishment and final grade for proper drainage. And then I'm going to come back and say either spread grass seed and straw, or deliver, install X amount of pallets of sod. And around here, sod's tall fescue. They call it turf fescue, but that's how we would do it. My rates for my excavation are going to vary anywhere from $200 per cubic yard up to $500 per cubic yard. I would say on average, 325 is where most people are. Easy, loose soil on top, come out and do it for $200. When you can already see the rocks poking out, obviously it gets them a little more expensive. If it's just a skilled dig, like if it's a dig for a patio, or if I'm digging for a retaining wall, or like if it's a tight grade, usually we're around 325. And then if it starts getting crazy, dangerous, or it's got to have specialized mini equipment or something, like I said, it can really get up there. So that's my excavation rates. My topsoil rates, they just went up this year a little bit because all my prices keep going up from my material suppliers. So, and then of course my labor prices have gone up, or my labor costs have gone up. So I had no choice really. But our prices now are $100 a yard for basically anything under a delivery. If you start getting a full delivery, $100 a yard for anything that's a full delivery. If you get under a full delivery, and so basically anything 8 yards or less, I'm $125 a yard. Otherwise, it's pretty much $100 a yard all the way up. If we're getting hundreds and hundreds of yards in, and it's all getting dumped and it's just getting back dragged and pushed around, I might be able to drop that price. We used to go down to 75 was as low as we would go. I could probably get down to 85, 90 and still make money nowadays. But, with the cost of everything just jumping around, it doesn't make sense at this point to do that. So we just play it safe and stick with the $100 per yard figure. And that includes the delivery, and it includes the spreading and all of the finish work. So that's how I do it. Sorry for the long video, but this one's got some good info for anybody trying to get into landscaping.